the Indianapolis Motor Speedway quickens the pulse of any race fan. But imagine being a race driver and having the opportunity to race at this legendary facility. Over 900 SCCA amateur racers come out this weekend, but only 26 of them will kiss the bricks. A gold medal in the offering at Indy. Welcome to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for Haggerty Race Day. As you can see, it's an overcast day. There is some rain in the forecast, but this broadcast presented by our friends at Mazda will set the stage for GT1. These are the fastest tin tops that we have in SCCA competition, thundering 850 horsepower behemoths, and we've got a 10-time champion on the front row, a two-time champion right behind him. Good morning and good afternoon, good day, wherever you might be. My name is John Phippen. So happy to be back at the runoffs here at Indy. Alongside me is Tom O'Gorman, five-time champion of the Solo Nationals, as well as Hayward Wagner down on pit lane. But we've got this 2.6-mile facility inside the oval here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and our friends at Mazda have brought us the track map. As Tomo, I'll ask you to take us around since you're the driver in the booth.
It's a very cool track, and it's a 2.6-mile road course, 14 corners, and we start off in Sector 1, the longest sector of the track. These cars scream down between the grandstands of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A heavy braking zone, almost 180 miles an hour when the brake lights come on for Turn 1. Pinch point at the start of the race, but a great passing opportunity into turns 1, 2, and 3. Then a pretty significant checkup at Turn 4 for a sweep before powering through Turn 5 into the tricky carousel at Turn 6. Lots of line options, different line choices for racing versus qualifying before you come out onto the Holman Straight through Turn 6A. Then another launch into Sector 2, short but critical, through Turn 7, 8, 9, and 10. Pretty tight for these cars to kind of thread the needle through the S's there before coming up onto the banking at Turn 11, a kind of banked braking zone for Turn 12, a great passing opportunity, and then Turns 13 and 14. Patience is key in Turn 14 with these cars, and of note, these are some of the few cars that get an opportunity to race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway outside of the SCCA Runoffs and SCCA Pro Racing's Trans Am Series. So some of these drivers actually have a lot more seat time at this track than others, and also than anybody else in any other category.
Indeed, and we have 5 drivers who eclipsed the 4-year-old lap record set here by David Pintric. It's going to be fun to watch, but down amongst those top 5 drivers is the third member of our broadcast team, Hayward Wagner, down on the grid.
Guys, they call these cars ground pounders for a reason. Everybody down here, engines are started, and you can feel the exhaust on these cars. GT1 has frequently been a class of a runaway win. Here we've got 6 cars inside of a second. As Tomo just mentioned, many of these guys running in the Trans Am Series, they know these tracks pretty well. They're very comfortable here. I want to show you a couple of things about our pole sitter car. First of all, a lot of people call these cars big, heavy cars. This car is 2,780 pounds. For a fully fendered race car, it's pretty darn light. This is a lot of horsepower and a pretty lightweight package. As you look inside, you can kind of see the construction of this car. This is a true tube frame car. Everything on these cars is custom built for racing. These are pure, real race cars. If you're not familiar with SCCA racing, this is the same construction concept as you would see in a full-on NASCAR race car. The only thing that is an actual Jaguar part on this car are the taillights. Everything else is built for racing.
Thanks, Hayward. And although we won't see any Mazdas in this field, Mazda's investment in club racing goes beyond the track map presentation. If you race a Mazda, no matter the model or the year, they support you through the Mazda Team Support Program. Sign up at MazdaMotorsports.com. You know, we talked about 5 drivers that eclipsed the old lap record. Between the 5 of them, 0.7 of a second is all. This is going to be a tight battle at the front.
Yeah, and Hayward mentioned that this tends to be a little bit more of a spread out class because there is so much car, there's so much driver that needs to be able to control the car, and there's only 20 cars on the grid. It's among the smaller fields that we see here at the runoffs, but to have 5 cars on the same half a second, essentially, at the top of this grid, all of them under the track record in Lewis, Pintric, Henriksen, Bupp, and Hinkle, this is going to shape up to be a fantastic race. Which is extra exciting. We get to lean forward in our chairs and enjoy it.
Exactly right. As you saw just a brief shot of David Pintric's very historic livery. He almost always has the Stars and Stripes livery on his cars, and we understand that's a brand new car for him, an Ave Motorsport Mustang put together, and this will be his first race in it, as the Trans Am season, which he competes in on a regular basis, has already concluded. So he's using this as a shakedown opportunity, and we'll see how that all shakes out, as there goes A.J. Henriksen. Right behind him, Jordan Bupp, Jeff Hinkle, Tom Smith. Let's introduce the 20-car starting grid for you. Sports cars picked to finish on the box, of course, is the 10-time national champion and the defending GT3 national champ, the 12 of Michael Lewis, out of Poway, California, the San Diego region, in the only Jaguar XKR in the field. David Pintric in the red, white, and blue livery number 57 Ford Mustang is out of Canfield, Ohio, in the Mahoning Valley region. He is a two-time champion and won it the last and only time we've been here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 2017. Starting third, the 44 of A.J. Henriksen out of Elgin, Illinois, in the Chicago region, in a Dodge Challenger SRT. Alongside him in row 2, number 3, Jordan Bupp out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in the Florida region, in a Chevy Camaro. Starting in row 3, the last driver to break the old lap record, the 9 of Jeff Hinkle out of Tomball, Texas, racing out of the Atlanta region in the NetDepot.com Dodge Challenger. Next to him is the 62 of Tom Smith out of Fayetteville, Arkansas, in the Mid-South region, in a Chevy Camaro. Zachary Manette, part of a father-son team in this field, in the 99 car out of Milton, Georgia, in the Atlanta region, in the Optec Ford Mustang. Next to him, the 05 of David Verstand out of Fort Worth, Texas, in the Texas region, in the Verstand race-prepared Chevy Corvette. It's a Corvette story for the next few drivers. The 162 of K. Dane Smith out of the Mid-South region, in the Terps Dispensary vet. Then Dave Rullo in the number 31 car. He's picked by Sports Car to show up on the podium as well, out of Heartland, Wisconsin, in the Milwaukee region. He is also the winner of the Hawk Breakthrough Performer Award, given to the driver who improves the most positions between his or her first day of qualifying and second. Rullo made up 4 spots on Wednesday. Starting 11th, the 122 of Joseph Frieda out of Notasluga, I think it is, Notasluga? I don't know. It's a town in Alabama, in the Alabama region, in the ERA Lab Chevy Corvette. Paige Alexander in the 25 out of Milton, Georgia, and the Atlanta region, in another of the Optec Chevy Corvettes. Thomas Erb starts 13th in the 61 out of Barrington, Illinois, and the Chicago region, in a fall line Porsche 991.2. Watch for him. J. Richard Grant, as we got a car off. Was that the 35 that I see?
I believe it was the 25 of Paige Alexander, as you were talking about it.
Job. So Paige Alexander pulling off on the pace lap. Not sure what the problem might be. J. Richard Grant in the number 30 car out of Germantown, Tennessee, in the Atlanta region, in a Chevy Corvette. J. Richard last won a national championship in 1990 in GT4. Rick Dittman, veteran campaigner, in the 24 car out of Lincolnshire, Illinois, in the Chicago region, in a Corvette. A rookie in the runoffs, making his first start, the 13 of Steve Goldman out of Mercer Island, Washington, in the Northwest region, in the LIG Racing Corvette. We understand we're going to stay behind the safety car, as we'll have to recover Paige Alexander's machine. Bob Manette, the father of Zachary Manette, will start 17th out of Milton, Georgia, in the Atlanta region, in another Optec Corvette. Don No out of Arlington, Texas, in the Texas region, in the Metro Coffee Group number 89 for a Chevy Corvette as well. In the last row, we have a pair of rookies making their first runoff start. The 53 of Larry Hoopaw out of Chester, South Carolina, in the Central Carolinas region, in the Hoopaw Grading Company Camaro, and Tom Ellis in car number 5 out of Sunrise, Florida, in the Florida region, Palm Express Ford Mustang. So one more pace lap. Actually, in SCCA competition, it's not unusual for these GT1 cars to get 2 pace laps, because it takes a little extra time to get all the fluids up to temperature and get some temperature in the tires. So this extra pace lap probably is not a bad deal.
And that's how that actually happened. Paige Alexander was warming the car up and went to the power to come out of turn 6A onto that straightaway and just looped it, trying to keep some heat in those rear tires. These are massive rear tires, by the way. They're well over maybe a couple feet wide, in fact. So it's not it's not too hard to actually have that happen. But Paige also stalled the car, so she's having a hard time getting it refired. They'll go out, probably bump start it, and then we'll get a green flag.
Yeah, as you look from the back, they almost look like a funny car. They've got just all kinds of rubber meets the road, and that's necessary. Again, they've got 850 horsepower at their disposal, as Paige, unfortunately, behind the tow truck, being pulled behind the barrier, so she will not take the start of this race. Michael Lewis, again, looking for his first gold medal of this runoffs. He has been on the podium, I think, in every class that he's competed in so far, but this is the one that I'm sure he would love to win. A 10-time national champion is Michael Lewis. J. Richard Grant, as we mentioned, the 1990 GT4 champion, starting back in row 7, is starting his 39th runoff start, actually 40th, because he was in an earlier race this weekend. So J. Richard Grant, the 1990 GT4 national champ, a little deeper in the pack.
Just noticed that number 62 was losing some fluid out of the back of that car. We noticed it on the warm-up lap as he was weaving, and that is Tom Smith's Camaro starting 6th. Potentially related, but not necessarily to Paige's spin. But if that car, that Camaro with the orange nose, is losing a little bit of fluid, that would be not good to have fluids down coming to the green flag. Yeah, still losing something out of the rear of that car.
Could be just an overflow from the fuel. They may top off the fuel tanks because these engines making that much horsepower are very thirsty. So they've probably got those fuel cells right up at the maximum. So it might be just that, but it might be something more sinister. So we'll keep an eye on that number 62 of Tom Smith, as we should be able to go green this time by, as we saw. Oh, we're going to go one more lap of yellow, we understand. So that's a bit of a surprise. It looked like Paige's car was already heading behind the barrier, but we'll go one more time behind the safety car before we flag these guys off. And this is one race that you will hear these cars long before you see them. They make a glorious noise, and a lot of it.
One thing to note, the timer has started because there was a wave off. They did start the timer. We've elapsed 3 minutes of the race so far. We're going to lose more of it to this full course. So the lap counter and the timer are ticking. It's a 19-lap race, or 40 minutes of time. And a number of our laps, a number of our races this weekend have gone to the timer just because of full course cautions like this. So these cars are very, very fast. They're among the fastest of the entire event. They should be able to easily squeeze in 19 laps within that 40 minutes, or close to double that if they wanted to. But this is kind of putting a delay on any amount of racing that we can get. We're going to lose 2 laps to this.
Yeah, exactly right. All the races are 40 minutes or 19 laps, whichever occurs first. Michael Lewis looks like he's getting a little impatient to get this one underway as he stretches out. Probably just an opportunity to get a little clear of the pack so he can get some heat into the brakes as well. Not only do they need to warm up the tires, they want to be sure the brakes are warm, because that run down to turn 1 is a heavy braking area, the heaviest braking area on the racetrack.
Well, in the car too, you get there's no more intense moment than coming to the green flag, and when you that bubble pops and there isn't actually a green flag, you kind of have to regroup your mental state. You can chill for a little bit, but then coming to the green flag every single lap, and there's anticipation, nothing. That's happened to these drivers 3 times now. You got to be able to kind of stay on top of that, and we'll see who has the strong mental bandwidth, maybe we'll say, in the top 5 there between Lewis, Pintric, Henriksen, Bupp, and Hinkle. Bupp and Hinkle. We expect those 5 to be really on top of each other.
The trap speeds of these cars are so high. You can see the aerodynamic evidence all over these bodies, with the splitters and the bodywork literally scraping the ground almost, as they want to try to not trap any air under the car if at all possible, getting the air to flow over the top of the car and reduce the drag. Most of them with a big wing at the back to get some downforce to try to force those tires into the ground. Oh, I see, as we do have a little fluid down on the racetrack, and we've got a corner worker right there at turn 6A getting a little kitty litter down. As Paige Alexander, when she spun, she might have spun in her own fluid, and that may be why she was not able to get started again. So obviously they've got to put a little oil dry down, and that's the reason that we have had this extra safety car period.
And that oil dry is right on the track out line. You see they were apex that curb and track out right across of it. So even coming to the green flag, once the oil dry is clear as the safety team speeds away, that's going to be a big challenge coming up onto this home and straight for the first lap.
David Verstand in that red number 05, working his temperature in the tires. There's Dave Rullo, sports cars pick to finish on the box in the 31, and the lone Porsche in the field. Seems kind of out of place with these big thundering V8s, but that Porsche will be a factor. Thomas Herb in the 991 GT3 Cup Porsche out of Barrington, Illinois. If the clouds were to open up, he would certainly be in a position to make some hay on these big cars, because they do not do well when it rains. They've got so much rubber under the tires. Even if they start on rain tires, they are just about unmanageable because of the huge amount of torque that these cars have. It's just almost impossible to keep them from spinning up the tires. They have enough trouble when the track is dry. All right, let's get this show underway here as Michael Lewis and David Pintric in that brand new to him Ave Mustang pull alongside. Probably similar power plants in those two cars. The Jaguar, of course, with the Ford affiliation. As we wait for the green flag, and there it is. You can hear him accelerate. David Pintric staying right with the 10-time champion, and Jordan Bupp right behind him, as it looks like Pintric is going to take the lead here as he heavy on the brakes down into turn number 1. Pintric, your leader, Bupp with a little bumping and grinding, and the 44 goes around A.J. Henriksen as Michael Lewis getting locked up with Jordan Bupp, and they come to a stop. Those cars appear to be stuck together.
A very awkward exchange at the apex of turn 1. We mentioned it's a pinch point. Dave Pintric gets through nice and clean, but it was Jordan Bupp that had a great start in the Camaro. Tried the outside, but A.J. Henriksen charged back up the inside. Those two came together, overshooting the corner just a little bit, and it collected 4 of our 5 contenders for just a moment. There's Pintric through the oil dry. He's clean and through it. Bupp avoids it just a little bit, but we're down to just 2 contenders out of that top 5 we were so excited for. And the 05 spins in the oil dry, gets slight contact with the wall. Hopefully going to be able to continue on.
That's the 05 car of David Verstand, another veteran campaigner out of Texas, who was running in 8th spot. And we are going to go full course yellow, no surprise. And this is interesting. Greg Kramer, my broadcast partner, just handed me a note that the radar is saying we might see rain in as little as 10 minutes. So keep your eyes on the skies if you're here at the racetrack. If not, it's certainly going to make things. We're going to get a replay of the start here.
Yeah, so keep an eye on this red Camaro that runs in second right now as more action happening. But the number 3 car had a great start. It's going to follow Dave Pintric along the outside. And then Henriksen in the blue Challenger is going to lunge up the inside of Bupp, trying to come back and lose as little ground as possible, overshoots the corner. And then things get very awkward. Slight contact with Bupp, but then the rest of them stack up to each other and get stuck.
And it was the 9 car of Jeff Hinkle that got locked up with the pole sitter, Michael Lewis. And it looks like those cars actually interleaved bodywork and somehow got hooked up together. And then we see the spin of the 05 of Verstand coming through that oil dry as trying to get the power down on cold tires, and it just got away from him. So this is going to get curiouser and curiouser if the rain does indeed fall, because obviously everybody is on slick tires, and they would definitely have to make a call to the pits. They could not run in the rain.
Just looked out the window. It is actually raining now, and I have to wonder if that's part of the reason we saw this number 62 spin coming through turn 12 as we went to full course caution. He actually spun under the caution, did the number 62 of Tom Smith. These drivers are all on slick tires. They are not prepared for the rain, and it's raining.
So we'll get a replay of that spin right now as coming into turn 12. This is on the slowdown as they were yet to pick up the safety car and did a full 360, kept his foot in it, making it a 720 almost as he's in the grass. Good thing that he was able to get it out of the grass, because he could well have gotten it stuck there as he's still feathering the throttle, trying to get that car back underway. And I'm sure kicking himself for that little miscue. So while we've got this full course yellow, as we're sorting out the cars and the carnage all the way around the racetrack, let's take a moment to thank the partners that make the racing possible here for the SCCA Runoffs.
Why race? Because it's in our blood. A love of driving that pushes us as hard on the road as it does on the track. It's why we reinvented the Roadster and put a piece of it into every car we make. It's why we refine, rethink, and refine again. And it's why we'll always engineer to your heart's BPM, not simply an engine's RPM. Why race? Why indeed?
When the finish line calls, we answer. Hit the road with insurance protection from Hagerty. Whether you drive a built racer, sports car, or exotic, and save an average of $264. Get a quote today at Hagerty.com.
Welcome to that magic realm. Between here and there, a no man's land, and everyone's land, where great expectations grow, and rewards are given to the swift, the perceptive, and the daring. Introducing the Mazda CX-30 Turbo with all-wheel drive. More power for your pursuit.
Welcome back to Hagerty Race Day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You can see the gray skies above may be opening up before too much longer and giving us some precipitation. We knew that rain was forecast this day, and it looks like it may be coming our way. And that is really going to throw a monkey wrench into the works, a spanner into the works, as they say across the pond. As you can see, there's already some dampness here on the front straightaway. And these cars are definitely going to have their hands full as they stay on slicks. And I wonder if we've got a couple cars in the pits, A.J. Henriksen and Thomas Erb both in the pits. Erb in the Porsche, maybe he's taking a preemptory call to the pits and going to put some rain tires on, and he would be in the pound seats if that's the case.
This is really tricky for sure for the drivers because it is absolutely raining. It's been raining for about 5 or 6 minutes now. The entire track is damp, but we're kind of just getting to the point where rain tires are going to be necessary. I think we've actually passed that point now, as we can see some of that spray off of the tires from the 99, the front axle spitting up some rain and some mist. So you're right, we've got a couple of cars already in the pit lane taking to the rain tires, I would assume. But the tricky part is not all these drivers have crews. Maybe not all these drivers prepared for some rain tires. You have to be prepared for anything. Michael Lewis is going to get some service to his cars. He had contact on that first lap, first corner. But if you don't have the rain tires ready, if you don't have a crew in the pit lane ready for a tire change, you're in trouble.
Yeah, Michael Lewis is 2 laps down, and normally he would just park it. But with the uncertainty with the weather here, this could be a real lottery. So Michael Lewis not going to waste any time. If the crew can get it done and get that car back in service after the body damage suffered in that first turn incident, we'll see he and Jeff Hinkle getting locked up together there just at the exit of turn number 1. As you get this great camera shot, you can see the rain coming down in earnest. As we look out the window of our commentary box, we can see the rain on the windshields of the cars in the parking area. So it is definitely going to be wet out there. So let's see who is going to duck into the pits and take a preemptory tire change, or if they have a look at the radar and think, oh, well, this is going to pass. Let's gut it out and see if we can make it. We still got 26 and a half minutes remaining in this one. But these guys are going to have to be very, very careful once they get the green flag.
With 26 minutes and this amount of rain, how humid it's been all day, I don't see the track drying even if it stopped raining now. I think everyone's going to want those rain tires. The question is, it's again, drivers weren't necessarily prepared for this. This is a surprise for us in the booth. It's a surprise for the drivers on the track as well. We would have gotten a significant amount of this race in before the rain came, but unfortunately a couple of wave-offs and that incident delayed us straight into this rain.
Base cars off. We'll see if anybody dives into the pits.
Oh boy.
First 2 have decided they're going to gut it out.
Oh boy.
First 3 are staying out. First 4 are staying out. Pintric, Bupp, K-Dane Smith, and Dave Rulo are your top 4 as we are working our way toward the green flag. Keep your fingers crossed. And we are green. Look at the spray being kicked up. David Pintric takes it down the straightaway. This is a heart-in-the-mouth kind of moment.
It really is.
The kind of velocity these cars are capable of.
Certainly not using the entire throttle pedal. They have 800 plus horsepower. They're going to be on the brakes nice and early. Significant rain and puddles here. Everyone making it through so far in the top 3. K-Dane Smith is all the way up to 3rd from 9th on the grid. That's the blue Corvette at the edge of the frame. And he's tiptoeing, as are the rest of the field.
Sunoco, the official fuel of the Sports Car Club of America, sponsors the Sunoco Hard Charger Award. As we can see the 9 car back in the pits of Jeff Hinkle, as they're still working on Michael Lewis's car. A couple more. One of the challengers making his way down the pit lane as well. But meanwhile, David Pintric still circulating with Jordan Bupp right behind him as these drivers just tiptoeing. Anyway, the Sunoco Hard Charger Award awarded to the driver who makes up the most positions from his qualifying performance. As our leader spins, David Pintric goes around at 6A, turning the lead over to Jordan Bupp with K-Dane Smith right behind him. And then Dave Rulo is going to move into 3rd spot as Pintric just now getting back underway.
I was going to say how high risk, low reward it is to try to push the car at this point in the race. If you spin, you lose so much time. If you don't spin, you're not going to gain a significant amount of time by pushing hard. So Bupp, you can see just how careful they're being, just rolling around really, kind of at idle. As soon as Pintric crossed onto that extra bit of pavement on the Holman straight, whoa, really nervous car for Bupp. But as soon as you saw Pintric cross onto that extra pavement, the car just snapped. Bupp probably saw it happen and backed off the throttle, and that's why he was okay, but now problems for more drivers.
Zachary Manette off in the 99 as he has spun it as well, but has been able to get back on track. You can see the grass clippings on the splitter. That's going to be another issue because the air intakes for these cars right down on that splitter, the high pressure area, is where they want to see the air coming into to cool the engines, and those will get clogged up with grass clippings if they get off track. So Jordan Bupp staying out here. Yikes, right up against the wall.
Yeah, this will be the scariest part of the track as the water runs down the banking towards that apex of turn 14. Coming onto the banking is the lowest, the least amount of space you have to spin. There's walls on both sides, so you have to cross up onto that front straightaway. There's no option, but you're going to be driving through standing water. Look at how significant the water is on the first half of the track. It looks like turn 1 and 2 are much wetter than some of the other parts of the circuit.
You know, and 3-second Formula One style pit stops are not in the offing area. Even though these are center hub wheels, they can change the tires pretty quickly, but it's a manual pump up jack, very much like a NASCAR pit stop, and with a limited number of crew members permitted over the wall by regulation for safety purposes. It's a long process to change tires. So Bupp and Dane Smith, among others, making the calculation that they would lose so much time in the pits changing tires. As you can see, here's a tire change going on Manette's car.
Yeah, almost no one has tires prepared. From Hayward Wagner on the pit lane, he said a couple of cars are in, but it's taking them more than a lap per side to change to these rain tires, let alone, so you're going to go 2 laps down just in trying to change rain tires. These guys don't have to drive very fast to stay ahead of cars that are 2 laps down. They can just keep rolling around, but Pintric has actually gotten the car pointed the right direction, is starting to reel in K. Dane Smith, who runs in second. Jordan Bupp continuing to idle around in the lead in that number 3 Camaro.
Yeah, Pintric got passed by Dave Rouleau after his spin, so he's already gotten back around Rouleau up into 3rd spot. And let's see, his lap time, of course, skewed by that spin, but keep an eye on the number 61 of Thomas Erb. This is playing right into his hands, as you would expect the Porsche to be much handier in these. He's already up to 5th now.
He is. He's the fastest car on the track other than Bupp and Smith. He's a little quicker than Smith, but Bupp was quicker. So this car is the 2nd quickest, essentially tied for the quickest time. Last lap through, that Porsche is on a big charge. Here's an attack for 2nd. Pintric carefully navigating turn 13 is going to close the door on K. Dane Smith. So a swap on the podium, but both of these drivers almost certainly about to be blown past by Thomas Herb in that Porsche.
David Pintric has some experience on this racetrack, as many of the other drivers who have Trans Am experience racing here in their Trans Am car, but this is a brand new car for Pintric, so he's kind of feeling it out as he goes. But you can see Erb in the background.
Wow.
A 58.1 as the car of K. Dane Smith just in front of him, a 2:12 and some change.
Yeah, Thomas Herb was 6 seconds faster than anybody else on the track, including the leaders last time through. So he's on a massive charge. We have 20 minutes of this left, and it looks like the rain has subsided out our window. Thomas Herb is going to have tons of time. Doesn't need to be very aggressive, really, to start to run these guys down. Look at him, just drives right by.
He's already up to now 3rd spot. Jordan Bupp well out in front, about 6 seconds out in front of this battle that you're seeing. But David Pintric currently running 2nd, just about to give that up to Thomas Erb in the Porsche. As this really has made it a unusual race. And again, these drivers playing the waiting game, hoping that the rain stops and we dry out the track. Look at K. Dane Smith getting squirrely as he tries to come up onto the Holman straight. Here goes Erb. He's just going to stuff it down to the inside, and Pintric will not challenge him. You can see him giving him a point, saying, okay, mister, you want to take it, go for it.
Thomas Herb also has the luxury of a windshield wiper. You can see that's going. The rest of the cars don't have that. But that extra pavement on the left side that they track out to is just a road that they use when the speedway's in normal use. That looks to have so much less grip than the rest of the pavement. I noticed Dave Pintric got wise and didn't go out to it, but actually Herb was able to use it, get the power down, and he's got his sights set on the leader, Jordan Bupp. Ooh, big spin for the 35.
Yeah, the 35 car is Bob Manette, so both Manettes have spun. as we saw a spin earlier from Zachary, but both have been able to continue. As we'll get a replay of the spin. It's coming down into turn number 7, and yeah, it just swaps ends on him. As soon as he touched the brakes, that big Corvette goes around.
Sequential gearboxes in these cars. Looks like he might have just grabbed a gear on that moment, and it locked the rear axle, or perhaps a little bit of rear brake bias, locking the rear and sending him for a ride.
So here is the battle for the lead as Jordan Bupp in the number 3 car being chased down now by Thomas Erb in the Porsche, and just that quick, the Porsche goes to the front.
Unbelievable. No one would have picked this Porsche to win the race when they rolled off the grid, but there he goes to the lead. Thomas Herb in a 991 GT3 Cup car. The Porsche goes to the top. He's on slick tires, but just the layout of this car is allowing him to be so much more confident in these conditions.
Exactly right. The contemporary Porsches, the GT3 Porsches, very well balanced. They're very much a mid-engine car these days as they've worked the engine forward, and they don't have that big moment of inertia that the old 911 derivative Porsches have had for so many years with trailing throttle oversteer. Porsche has just evolved this car over the history of it, and the race cars are so well balanced that Thomas Erb has really got a pretty stable platform for him. And if he could just not get too over exuberant and keep it on the island, I think he's got a win going away.
He does, and he was the quickest car on the track again, but only 5 seconds quicker than Dave Pintric. If the rain did secede, and we have 18 minutes left, if the track starts to dry just a bit, the raw pace of Pintric and Bupp will start to reel this Porsche back in. He qualified 8 seconds off the pace in the dry, so this thing's going to ebb and flow quite a bit, but there's a lot of water. It's not going to dry.
Yeah, exactly. The sun's not coming out anytime soon. And that being the case, there's not much wind either. So this track is going to stay wet, as Thomas Erb has got a gold medal in his sights if he can just keep it on the island. As this is his 7th runoff appearance, he has only 1 medal. He has a 2nd place finish last year in the T1 class at Road America. So he's had a medal, but never had a gold.
I think there are sections of the track that are worse than others. It looks like it's kind of puddling up on the banking through turns 1, 2, and then here at turn 12, 13. But a significant portion of the infield doesn't look too bad. This time across the line, Thomas Herb again quicker. The fastest lap of the race that time through was almost 10 seconds a lap faster than Jordan Bupp as he crosses the line. So the Porsche is just putting massive distance on everybody else.
This is the battle that you're watching for 5th spot, Dave Rouleau and Tom Smith. Tom Smith, a little braver in the Camaro, goes around Rouleau to take over that spot, moving himself up into 5th. He's already had a spin behind the safety car, and you can see that car squirming under the brakes as he tries to carry as much pace as he can. David Pintric was closing up right behind Jordan Bupp, so Pintric by this time may be up into 2nd spot, as we'll watch his progress, because he seemed to be most comfortable of the T1 cars in this, or the GT1 cars, excuse me, in these conditions. And there he is, Pintric and Bupp. This is for 2nd place. Pintric taking the wide line. Bupp not going to give it up easily. He's going to try to protect the inside and make Dave go around the outside. But again, in the wet, there'll be more grip off the racing line than there is on it. I think Bupp is just finding this out.
What we've seen is that this track doesn't get a lot of use, and it therefore doesn't have a real much of a rain line so much as it just gets puddling. Whoa, Bupp is making this very challenging for Pintric. He's not doing anything wrong, but he's certainly not comfortable. Pintric has a little bit more comfort, drives on past and becomes the new 2nd place driver. Also wanted to point out a couple of the cars that took wets are back on track at this point. They are the fastest cars on track by a couple of seconds, but they're also a couple laps down.
Yeah, so they would really have to make up some ground to unlap themselves twice in 15 minutes. As Jordan Bupp really fishtailing this Pintric, showing the smoothness. David Pintric's had great success here at Indianapolis, winning this class at the only other visit back in 2017. Looking to make it 2 in a row here. He's got a long way to go to catch up to Thomas Erb in that flying Porsche, who continues to draw away.
Oh, okay. We're hearing from Hayward Wagner that the car in the lead, the Porsche, actually pit on the pace lap and went to wet tires. He started at the back, but that car's on rain tires, which makes this make a lot more sense as to why he has so much more grip. The 911 that's leading, Thomas Herb, is on its rain tires, and that, talk about a gamble. Before the rain had even started, he decided, okay, we've got all these wave-offs. We're going to pit in and we're going to make a gamble, and it's paying off.
You can see the Dodge Challenger of Jeff Hinkle. He's the one who made that bonsai move there at the start and got hooked up with Michael Lewis. And he's now working his way back into contention after a pit stop to repair as much damage as he could. But you can see that front splitter is not fully attached, and it's vibrating up and down, banging on the pavement.
Yeah, Hinkle, one of the cars on rain tires as well. He's 4 laps down actually from the leaders, but he's the fastest car on the track. Is this number 9, the red Dodge Challenger SRT, and he was one of the cars we expected to be in contention for the win. Obviously, if he had been able to complete that pit stop in a timely manner, he would be certainly in for a podium position, but being 4 laps down at this point is going to be rough.
Yeah, it is definitely going to be tough, as he's got 3 laps to unlap himself. The car's on the lead lap down through 8th position, and Hinkle running in 9th, multiple laps down.
Talk about a story, though. The number 61 Porsche, he was actually sitting on the pit lane getting rain tires when the green flag came out and was only able to catch the field because of the incident that happened there in turn 1. So the biggest gamble, a lot of luck, but then now it's paying off, and he's driving well is on top of that.
Yeah, kudos to him and his crew for taking that gamble, and it's paying off for sure. Even though, as we say, looking out the window of our commentary booth, the rain appears to have stopped, but the track is just not drying, as there aren't enough cars with rain tires out there to vacuum that water off the track and get it up into the air where it can dissipate.
And you talked about how long the pit stops were going to take. There is one car in this field that has air jacks and had a crew ready with the rain tires. Guess which one? The 911 Cup car has air jacks. They completed their pit stop quickly on top of doing that gamble. The rest of them had to sling the jacks out like you talked about, NASCAR style.
So David Pintric's only hope right now is he is some 22 seconds behind Thomas Herb and losing ground on every lap. He's almost 6 seconds a lap slower than the Porsche. The hope that Pintric has for another gold medal would be for there to be a problem, as we've got yet another spin from the 25 car of Paige Alexander, the 35 car of Bob Manette, as he goes around. We'll get a replay of that. That's right at the end of the front straightaway.
Very similar.
At turn 12. Yeah, he comes down into turn 12 and just locks it up. Almost a carbon copy of his spin earlier.
It is. He must have a dry amount of brake bias dialed into that car, so more brake pressure in the rear than you'd want in these conditions, and that's the wettest part of the track. As you can see, all the spray when they're coming into that braking zone is catching people out.
And he's back up onto the front straightaway is Bob Manette. Currently on the lead lap, the last car on the lead lap, running in 8th position. And not that far behind Joseph Frieda. They're right in front of him in the 122. So this is a battle for position for 7th and 8th. Frieda in the 122 Corvette, Manette in the 35 Corvette.
As things stand now for 2nd place, Dave Pintric and Jordan Bupp, who we haven't seen in a minute. Once Pintric passed Bupp in the Camaro, they actually stabilized their gap and are continuing to lap within about 2 seconds of each other. So that battle for 2nd hasn't gone away. Pintric kind of taught Bupp a thing or two, I think, once he was in front. They're working their way down the front straightaway. Here's Pintric in the American flag Mustang right behind the Camaro. He's kind of sticking with him and keeping him honest. If there's a slip from Pintric, Bupp will come back through.
Yeah, exactly right. And they are some 30 seconds behind the Porsche. So this is a battle for the silver and the bronze at the moment, with about 10.5 minutes remaining. But again, they would make up that ground in a big hurry because they stayed on slicks. If the track were to get dry enough that they could get some traction, the race would come right back to them, and they should be able to run down Herb with no problem. So with one eye to the sky and one eye on the steering wheel to make sure that they don't overcorrect and spin it off into the gravel trap. These two drivers gambling with the track will dry enough.
Well, they're kind of stuck with this option because we've seen every car that pits has taken between 2 and 4 laps to return to the track. So it's way better to just stay out and survive than it is to try to go to those rain tires, which is kind of the lesser of two evils, really. They're not happy with this situation. The only driver that's probably pretty content with what they've called is Thomas Herb.
The 162 of K. Dane Smith in the 4th spot. He is some 20 seconds behind Jordan Bupp. So K. Dane out of Springdale, Arizona.
He would be one of the contenders for that Hard Charger Award if it weren't for Thomas Herb, who came from 13th on the grid. But this driver here in the blue Corvette is K. Dane Smith, came up from 9th to be running 4th. It's a pretty good charge by just keeping it on the track.
Although we can't assume that these two Smiths are related, as Tom Smith out of Fayetteville, Arkansas, K. Dane out of Springdale. I don't know them well enough to know if they're related.
They do have the same sponsor, so I can assume that they know each other. They've met before.
Yeah, they're family members, you know, one way or the other.
Both in frame now.
This is a battle for position for 4th and 5th. With the Camaro with the orange nose closing down on the Corvette. Tomo, do you like to drive in the rain? Are you a good rain driver?
I do love driving in the rain, and I'm fascinated watching drivers in the rain as well, and it's been kind of cool at this event. Whoa, slight mistake for both drivers. K. Dane Smith kind of lures Tom Smith off the track almost there at turn 13, and they both get swept by Jeff Hinkle, who is 4 laps down. Whoa, big slide from Tom Smith, but he keeps it off the wall. Hinkle is 4 laps down, but on rain tires, so that's the difference. You can see it play out, just how much more confident Jeff Hinkle can be in the Challenger.
But he's just unlapping himself from those two drivers. He's still got a long way to go to get back into contention for a position. As that pass, easy as it looked, did not change his position on the racetrack.
He's actually unlapped himself by 1 lap for the field. He was 4 laps down when he came out of the pit lane, now only 3 from our leader. But he's only 2 laps down from the next 3 cars on the track. 7 minutes, I don't know if he's going to pull that off, but it's certainly putting on a clinic in the rain right now.
Exactly. As we stay with this battle between K. Dane and Tom Smith. Corvette with the advantage at the moment. Into turn number 6. You just hear these cars literally idling. I mean, they can't, no throttle application whatsoever. I'm guessing they're in a pretty high gear and just letting the cars idle around the racetrack, just barely touching the throttle.
There's that slick extra pavement we've talked about, and we should also say these cars they're not very happy driving around at low speed. They're meant to be driven hard. The drivability at idle and at low throttle at low speed is pretty poor.
Yep.
If you see them driving around in the paddock, they look very uncomfortable. It's just hard to move them around if they're not at full tilt. So these drivers kind of have a double whammy of poor conditions, and the drivability of this big of a race car, this highly prepared of a race car, is just not very high.
Yeah, and just the steering effort, even though they all have power steering, the steering effort to move those big chunks of rubber around at the front of the car is certainly going to be a factor. As we see the 31 of Dave Rouleau currently running in the 6th spot. He's about 20 seconds behind Tom Smith. And as we look at his lap time, Rouleau is at a 2:14. The Smiths are lapping in the 2:08, so he's losing ground rather than gaining it. Joseph Frieda in the 122 was behind him and is still behind him by a pretty big margin. Almost a minute further back is Frieda in the 122 car.
So I think we only have about 10 or 11 cars circulating at this point. A number of drivers put their hands up and said, no, not for me. When it started to rain, they're either sitting on pit lane or back behind the wall. But I think it is Zach Manette, maybe, that is the last car that's actually circulating. They're in 10th.
And he is 5 laps down to the car in front of him, which is 2 laps down to the cars in front of him. So this man is in the lead, no question about it. Almost 45 seconds worth right now. As Thomas Herb gambling on the tire choice and gambling on the car choice, quite frankly.
Yeah.
As you know, this GT3 Porsche, maybe on a really tight, twisty racetrack, could potentially be a factor in this class, but on a racetrack like this with big, long straightaways and sweeping turns, in the dry, he would have no chance of running with these big V8s.
I'd be curious to hear from what will inevitably be an interview at the end of this race of some sort with Hayward Wagner. I mean, he could just be running this car for fun. It says GT2, I think, down there on the bottom, and he might have just entered it in GT1 for the sake of racing a little bit more at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This could be a case of double or triple dipping. In fact, we saw Thomas Herb race in the rain yesterday in GT2 in this car, so he had some experience with these conditions already ready to go.
Yep.
As we hear it starting to rain once again. So, I mean, what started off as potentially just, I'm going to do an extra race because I'm already there, is going to turn into, at this point, looking like a national championship.
Yeah, exactly right. In the dry, he qualified 13th of the 20 cars, so he was still quicker than some of the drivers here in the dry. So here he is closing down on Dave Rouleau to put him a lap down. That would leave only 5 cars on the lead lap once he gets past Rouleau. So Thomas Herb playing the cards just about perfectly with 4.5 minutes remaining. The laps are going by in about 2 minutes, so I would guess we've only got a couple laps left here.
He's coming around to lap Dave Rouleau there in the 6th spot. He's now put pretty much a minute on Dave Pintric and Jordan Bupp, who have continued to grow apart from one another in 2nd and 3rd. Fastest car on the track is still Jeff Hinkle in that body-damaged Challenger SRT. Again, 3 laps down. He's not winning this race, but he's driving very well.
There's Dave Pintric, our 2nd place runner. And is that Jordan Bupp behind him? Yes.
No, that's
it's
Hinkle.
not. That's Hinkle, who's about to put him a lap down, or unlap himself, should I say, from the 2nd place runner.
The 3rd place car is in the background, the red Camaro, wiggling down the straightaway. As it's getting wetter again, these cars are going to get sketchier and sketchier, so these still not decided for these podium positions.
Yeah, absolutely. They can all throw it away without any question. As the challenger of Hinkle, being respectful, he could bull his way by as he's going to stuff it down the inside of turn 10, taking advantage of those rain tires. And Pintric realizes, I'm sure he's in communication with his crew, realizes he's not racing that driver for position, so just take it easy and bring it home. With 3 minutes left, we will see the white flag next time by for our leader, who is about a minute up the road from this battle that we're watching here. As Hinkle continues to unlap himself. The red car in the background is Jordan Bupp, and that is for position, as he and Dave Pintric about 5 seconds separated as Pintric comes onto the front straightaway. Jordan Bupp, 3 Camaro.
It has to be such a pucker moment every time you come out of turn 14 up onto the straightaway with absolutely no margin, walls on both sides, in the wettest part of the track on these slick tires with 800 horsepower. Oh man, I don't envy them right now, that's for sure.
Exactly, yeah, they're going to be exhausted at the end of this, not from the physical exertion, but just the mental exertion of having to keep these cars under them in these very sketchy conditions. Look, you can see Bupp just touching the throttle and that car steps sideways. Horses for courses. Of course, if it were raining and we were on the oval, we'd all be in the garage looking for somebody to interview.
Is that horses for courses or Porsches for courses?
It's Porsches for courses. Well done,
Yeah.
my friend. As coming to the white flag is Thomas Herb. One more circuit around this 2.6-mile road course. As he is 1 lap away from taking his national championship honors. Again, his best finish so far, a 2nd a year ago in Touring 1. That's his only medal so far in his runoffs career. In his 8th runoff start. So Thomas Herb playing the odds perfectly.
Just to reiterate, I mean, part of it is a comedy of errors, and part of it are the circumstances that had to happen for this to become. We had 3 wave-offs because of a mechanical failure of a car on the warm-up lap.
Right.
Gave him enough time for it to start raining. Gave this guy, Thomas Herb, enough time to, I'm going to gamble on these rain tires. He's the only car with air jacks, the only car with a team ready for some rain tires to change them quickly enough to get back out there under green flag running and then drive to the front. That itemized punch list of things having to happen to make this race the way it is just unbelievable.
Yeah, the perfect storm, literally, as he comes into turn 7 for the final time. No challenge a minute plus ahead of everybody else, as he doesn't even have to push it, as he could just take it easy and not put anything at risk here, as he weaves through the S's for the final time into turn number 10. Up the hill onto the banking comes Thomas Erb. This will be one for the record books, as I cannot imagine there are any other Porsche 911 derivatives in the winner's circle in this class in the 58-year history of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. But it's all about preparation, teamwork, and luck, and Thomas Erb has every one of those as he brings it onto the front straightaway for the final time. Gold medal for Thomas Erb, getting the job done as his crew celebrates right on the pit wall. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. The GT1 National Championship goes to an unlikely Porsche 991.2 GT3 Cup car. But take nothing away from Dave Pintric. He gutted it out, started this race outside of the front row, had a little help with some attrition, obviously, as Michael Lewis taken out right at the start of this race. But David Pintric said, hey, I can't change tires fast enough to be in contention, so I'm just going to stick it out here. And he fell back, had a spin of his own, fell back, but then recovered and worked his way back up into second spot. And I'm sure he'll be disappointed that this race didn't go green all the way or stay dry all the way, but he certainly has to be proud of this effort. So for the second time here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, he will have a medal around his neck. It's David Pintric in that brand new car.
Not over yet. You see a wiggle there as he tried to go to power coming out of turn 13. Just
Exactly.
a little bit further. Just a little further, Dave.
Yeah, take it easy. He wants to put on a good show for the fans. As you can see, a drying line there as he is able to accelerate to the checkered flag. And a big sigh of relief for David Pintric as he made it through in the silver medal position. And Jordan Bupp kept him honest as he stayed right with him. Here comes Bupp in the 3 car, coming across the line in that Chevrolet Camaro. He will take the final medal position with the bronze medal. So one of the most unusual GT1 races I can say that I've witnessed, as we still have this family affair in contention, as K. Dane Smith in the 162 Corvette leads Tom Smith in the Camaro, as these two Arkansas competitors come across the line to take 4th and 5th place honors. Dave Rouleau, we believe the last car on the lead lap in the 31 car, as he will be coming to the line for 6th place honors. Congratulations to K. Dane Smith, finishing just outside the podium as he gives a wave to the corner workers. But Thomas Erb already into the pit lane and on his way to Hayward Wagner. He's going to be a happy camper, I'm sure. Crew members saluting him. The round of applause from some of the grid workers down there, indicating that Erb made all of the right choices as he rolls to a stop just across the yard of bricks. And our man Hayward Wagner, with his rain gear on, will have a chance to chat with our driver once he gets his helmet off and gets that gold medal around his neck. One of his crew members saying, hey guy, good job. Lots of congratulations being given. And there's a happy camper right there. Thomas Erb probably didn't expect this one. But like you say, it's all about preparation. It's all about luck. It's all about making the right choices. And he ticked off every box to make this one happen.
Brought this exact car home in 7th yesterday in GT2. Again, in rain conditions. This is the second time he's seen this car on this track in these conditions this weekend. And man, again, just that list of things to make this race turn out this way for Thomas Erb is incredible.
Just to give you some indication of how dominant his win in, we still have not seen the 2nd and 3rd place cars get down there anywhere close to Hayward Wagner, but I can see the helmet is coming off. There is CC putting the medal around our winner. Once he gets the hat on, let's send it down to Hayward to a very happy Thomas Erb. Apologies, a little trouble with Hayward's microphone. We're going to try it again with a different microphone as, again, the weather playing havoc with the reception of these RF microphones.
And we want to hear what he has to say for
Yeah,
sure.
we definitely want to hear his comments. So give us a moment to sort the technical issues out if we can. As finally, Dave Pintric and Jordan Bupp have made it around on their cool-down lap to take their position. And we'll hear from both of them as well. Again, they will be ruining the weather and unfortunately wondering what could have been. But an unusual ending to the GT1 National Final for the 2021 edition of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. But hey, when they look at the record books, they won't know how it was done. They'll just know that there's a gold medal handed out. More races yet to come in this final day of the 58th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. Weather will be a factor for the balance of the day, we're pretty sure. As we can see Dave Pintric climbing out of the car and getting the silver medal around his neck. And he's going to walk forward and congratulate Thomas Erb. So let's go to the results while we try to sort out the pit lane issues. Thomas Erb, your winner by over a minute over David Pintric. Jordan Bupp, another 10, 15 seconds back in third spot. K. Dane Smith and Tom Smith, the last two cars on the lead lap. Dave Rouleau finishing a lap down in sixth. Joseph Frieda in seventh spot. Bob Monette, after a couple of spins, comes home in eighth. Jeff Hinkle in ninth, and Zachary Monette behind his dad by a couple spots. So let's go to the highlights on this one, as it was maybe lowlights more to the factory here, as we didn't have a whole lot of green flag running in this one.
We do get to retell the story of how Thomas Erb ended up with the national championship, though, with these highlights. Again, we had a mechanical failure on the warm-up lap that caused this green flag start to be delayed by 3 whole laps. Right now, Thomas Erb's on pit lane getting rain tires, but coming together between Henriksen and Bupp ends up collecting Michael Lewis and also Jeff Hinkle. Both get locked together on the outside of turn 1. Then we're going to go back to full course caution where it starts raining, and here is where Thomas Erb restarts his charge back to the front. But these guys, tense moments for the lead in heavy rain, having not seen this track on dry tires.
And David Pintric from the lead spins it there at turn 6A, but then works his way slowly back into contention as Pintric gets around the 162 of K. Dane Smith. But here comes Thomas Erb with fresh rain tires, and that's the point where he got around David Pintric. And at the time, Jordan Bupp was the leader. Bupp goes wide at turn 1, and Erb just motors on by with that Porsche and the rain tires. And then here comes Pintric challenging Bupp to retake second spot. Bupp didn't make it easy, but David Pintric finally got by him and was able to walk away. But you can see the crew celebrating as Thomas Erb comes across the line at speed. David Pintric hanging on to those slick tires for second spot, and Jordan Bupp comes home in third. I think we've maybe got our final shot as Thomas Erb gets congratulations from the crew, and we are going to have to say goodbye to this GT1 competition. Oh no, I think we may still be able to get a word from our winners as we're working on it. Here's Thomas Erb after having a chance to chat with Hayward, and he is going to take his victory lap as he comes out onto the track. That checkered flag is there somewhere, but he probably doesn't want to get it too wet as he is working his way around on his celebratory lap of honor. That's one of the traditions of the runoffs competition. The victor, after taking the spoils, takes a lap of honor, usually with the checkered flag hanging out the window. But Thomas Erb doing it with a passenger in tow, it appears, one of his crew members. That's a well-earned victory as he brought the right car to the racetrack for the changeable conditions. You can see the headlights flashing as he salutes the corner workers on his way around, one of his crew members aboard, taking this celebratory lap of honor. And it sounds like Hayward's got a winner for us. Go ahead, Hayward.
Guys, the race winners out on the pace are the victory lap, but we have the team principal, as it were. And maybe the star of the show. Who made the call to bring him in?
Our engineer, the whole team. We said, hey, it's coming. Let's put the reins on. Let's go. those are the same rain tires that Tim Kesman won GT2 on yesterday. And it was just a great call. Team executed. Everybody was ready. They got them out. We didn't lose a lap. And knew with no one else coming in, there wasn't a chance.
What was the energy like in the pit box when the car came down off the air jacks? Did you guys just know you had it ace, or were you nervous?
Well, when the good people from Goodyear walked up behind us and said, "Go get your trophy." Congratulations. Yeah, we knew that, you know, a Porsche on rain tires versus these guys on slicks. You don't understand.
Mark, you're a Porsche guy. You've done a lot with Porsche. You can now say that your team has had the very first ever Porsche win in GT1 at the runoff. How does that feel?
That feels awesome. It feels awesome. It makes up for my my over-aggressiveness in T1, you know, and that I had to send it, and I did, but this worked out, that didn't, and so happy for Tom, the whole team, all of SCCA for putting this on. Great event. Love being here.
Congratulations to you. We're going to grab David. Hey, David, come on over for a second. I'm sure this was a disappointing result. When did you find out there were cars that were on rain tires?
Yeah, probably about second lap in when Matt said that the Porsche was on rain tires, and I was like, okay, hope it goes dry and just stay where I am. I spun out there, got behind three people eventually, and then it got around them, and just hoping for a dry rain. You can't beat them with rain tires. Even if I had rain tires, I wasn't going to beat that Porsche.
What was it like to try to drive this car in these conditions? What is tippy-toeing the right word? What's the right word?
It's about three or four steps beyond tippy-toe. You got 800 and some odd horsepower. You got wide tires that don't get any heat in there, and it's wet out there, and it's inconsistent wet and all that stuff. Not too bad in the rain. We do a lot of Trans Am races in the rain, and I'm pretty good at that. But slicks and rain is just not a bad deal.
Well, congratulations on a podium. Not the one you wanted most, but at least a medal.
No, thank you very much.
We've got our third place finisher, Jordan. Thank you. Jordan, what was it like at the start of this race, circulating under caution, seeing the first raindrops on the windshield? What were those moments like for you emotionally?
Unfortunately, I kind of got what I asked for. I said I'd love to drive against these guys in the wet, and I totally forgot about Tom, the wild card. I forgot about it, and he deserved to win. He did a great job, super clean. Race David and I both clean all the way around, and these cars are so hard to drive in the rain. I mean, it is the worst possible car to drive in the rain. And, for the most part, it seemed like everybody did a good job. Kind of got to dance in the rain,
Was there ever a moment for you where you thought, man, I should duck in and get wet, or wet's an option, or once you rolled off grid, that's what you got?
Nope, I was in it to win it, and that was the only way to do it, was to stay out. And, you just got to keep going, man. It's just this kind of racing, you don't have a second to breathe, and it was never even an option. My Goodyears were great, and as good as they could be in this condition, so I'm happy.
Well, congratulations to you on the bronze.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Interesting bit of runoffs trivia that Thomas Erb's finish is the second deepest that a eventual winner has started in the pack with 12th. Only Jacques Lazier better, starting 27th and winning a Formula V race back in the day. But this is a historic win, no doubt about it. As we see our winner climbing out, and he'll head up to the podium for the podium celebrations. Thanks to Mazda for presenting our broadcast here at the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. We've had a little bit of everything, and in this GT1 race certainly did not disappoint. For Tom O'Gorman and Hayward Wagner, my name's John Phipp, and thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you down the road.
When the finish line calls, we answer. Hit the road with insurance protection from Hagerty. Whether you drive a built racer, sports car, or exotic, and save an average of $264. Get a quote today at Hagerty.com.
Welcome to that magic realm. Between here and there, a no man's land, and everyone's land. Where great expectations grow, and rewards are given to the swift, the perceptive, and the daring. Introducing the Mazda CX-30 Turbo with all-wheel drive. More power for your pursuit.
Why race? Because it's in our blood. A love of driving that pushes us as hard on the road as it does on the track. It's why we reinvented the Roadster and put a piece of it into every car we make. It's why we refine, rethink, and refine again. And it's why we'll always engineer to your heart's BPM, not simply an engine's RPM. Why race? Why indeed.